Have you you ever have to work on weekends?
Typically, no. We have a couple of events on the weekends with stormwater, but that's about it.
Do you ever have to? You often wonder, do people put the packet together for you, or do you have to put it together?
The packet for the planning commission
Yeah,
and the boards. No,
yeah.
I do all that.
Isn't that a lot of work?
Yeah, it's time consuming, but I've been doing this for 15 years now, so.
Is it automatic in your mind?
Sort of, I mean, yeah. I mean, I've been working with planning for a while now, and yeah, it comes naturally.
But no weekend works.
Usually, no.
Would you have to stay late at night sometimes at the office?
Yeah, sometimes when I have meetings, yeah.
Like an hour or 30 minutes?
Just depends. I mean, my planning commission meetings are at 6, and sometimes I have to go to the county commission meetings, and they're at 7. So
You don't always go to the county commissions, right?
not unless I have something on
Do
the
they have a
agenda.
crowd there at the county commission meetings?
Just depends on what's on the agenda.
Does if they have a crowd to them would be what, 50 people or 40 people?
Probably, yeah.
So you're in charge of the. Give me the list.
Planning, zoning, stormwater, building inspections, grants,
God.
addressing, floodplain management, and whatever else Gary gives me to do.
There's not anybody else. I mean, you're the man.
Yeah, I work directly for the mayor, and then I have staff under me. I've got chief building official and another building inspector, Teresa, the administrative assistant. Sarah Jensen's our new stormwater coordinator, and Emily Harris is our stormwater specialist.
5 people.
Yes,
That's a lot, isn't it?
it can be.
But you have to put together the zoning thing, or the Board of Zoning Appeals and the Planning Commission.
Yes,
It's almost like you're running a big business,
it can be.
because there's each one of those areas has a lot of stuff underneath it.
It does.
Does it ever drive you nuts?
No, I like my job. I like what I do.
Does it ever make you nervous?
Sometimes, depending on what's coming up on the agenda. I mean, a few years ago we had the tire shredding situation on
yeah.
Hughes Lake Road, and
Yeah.
we were at capacity. It was after the courthouse had burned, and we were meeting where the school board meets, and the city fire inspector came in and made some of them move out. There were so many there, but stuff like that sometimes makes me nervous, but usually not. I mean,
You know, I've often thought, how many people live in the county?
well, the census numbers are going to come out at the end of the year. I think they're probably going to be about 110 to 115.
Does that include the city?
Yes. Yeah, there's about 60,000 in Cleveland.
Is there more people? Does that census raise? Is there any statistics on that?
As far as population
Yeah.
increasing? Yeah, I mean, it's going to increase. Definitely. We're building houses like crazy in the county. I mean, you know.
Yeah. And you got septic,
Yeah.
so that slows it down. If it wasn't for that, it'd really be building a lot in the county, right?
Yeah, with sewer you can build on smaller lots, you know, and you can do a lot more. Whereas septic, you have to have, you know, a place for a septic system and a backup, and you have to have good soils. And
Yeah.
I think you had David Myers on here a few
Yeah,
weeks ago.
David. Yeah.
That's what he does. But yeah, with sewer you can definitely do a lot higher density.
Now
development.
with David, once he says this looks good, you still got to go get it approved.
Yeah,
Whether or not he's not the end all, he's just sort of a consultant.
Well, yeah, he does the soil work and then submits it to TDEC for approval.
Even though he might agree at work, they may not, right?
Yeah,
Did you go to church today?
I didn't know.
Did you skip?
I did, yes.
How come? Busy? COVID?
Yeah, that. we had a lot going on yesterday. I'm turning 40 tomorrow. So.
Is that right? No, the 16th, right?
Yeah.
It's tomorrow the 16th. Yeah, that's right.
It is.
40 years old.
Yeah, we had my parents up from South Pittsburgh and my sister yesterday. And
Are you from South Pittsburgh?
Yeah, originally.
What was it like living there?
It was good. I was actually the city administrator there before I came here.
But you grew up, where'd you go to?
I went to North Jackson High School in North Alabama. My family lives right on the state line, and my dad, he taught and coached football at North Jackson. That's where I went.
Now, let's see. That was, what's the name of that town? Powell? Is it Powell? Jasper?
Jasper and South Pittsburgh and Powell's Crossroads.
Powell's Crossroads, yeah.
Okay.
They're like all three right there together.
And Whitwell.
Whitwell.
Monteagle.
You know how you tell if a guy's from Whitwell?
How's that?
If he says he's from Whitwell.
Whitwell.
Whitwell. Did you ever notice that?
I have.
They'd say, I'm from Whitwell.
Yeah.
But so you're from northern Alabama or from South Pittsburgh?
Technically from Tennessee, South Pittsburgh, but I grew up on a farm called Kings Cove out in the middle of two mountains, and in order to get to it, you have to go through Alabama, but it ends up in Tennessee, so.
Sort of like, isn't there a road down on South Lee Highway that's like that? You go into Hamilton County to come back around.
Is that Owl Hollow Road?
I believe it's Owl Hollow Road.
Yeah.
You have to go into Ooltewah,
then turn back.
come back around.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't been out there in years. But you think in your mind you're from South Pittsburgh?
Oh yeah.
So you couldn't get out other than walking without going into Alabama and coming back out?
Yeah.
So the bus would have to go into. Now, if you were a bus driver, licensed to drive a bus in Tennessee, how would they work that if you had to go into Alabama?
Well, our parents always took me and all my cousins that lived out there to school, but I mean that would be the only route you could take would be through Alabama. But yeah, for the longest time growing up, I had a Tennessee driver's license that said Bridgeport, Tennessee, because we had a Bridgeport mailing address, but it was a Tennessee driver's license.
Huh.
I had an attorney look at it one time, and he was like, "This isn't a legit license." I was like, "Well, they gave it to me at the DMV."
Is it still like that?
Oh no. Well, I live in Birchwood now.
Oh,
so.
yeah.
But they finally got it changed over to where they have the Bridgeport, Alabama on the Tennessee driver's license for my parents.
Now, South Pittsburgh, isn't that where they have that haunted hospital?
Oh yeah.
Have you ever been to it?
I spent a Thanksgiving there with the flu when I was a kid, when it was still
But you hadn't been there
operational.
since they were seeking out ghosts?
No, I haven't. My son's intrigued with it though.
I was getting directions to through that GPS to go to a place in Jasper, and I ended up at that hospital because instead of going up to Jasper at that hospital that's at the exit, it took me to that for some reason. I probably punched it in wrong, but so I was sitting in the parking lot, and evidently they were outside smoking between looking for ghosts. So I said, they said, "Can we help you?" And I said, "I'm here looking for so-and-so." And they said, "Well, we're ghost hunting." And I had no idea what they was talking about. So.
Oh yeah, people come from all over.
Do you think there's really ghosts there?
They say there are.
So you had your tonsils out there?
No, I had the flu.
Did you have to stay the night?
Yeah, I spent a couple of nights there. It was over Thanksgiving weekend.
Did it seem spooky to you?
No, it was a hospital. I mean, fully operational at the time.
Wonder why it's not operating now.
Well, I believe they closed it down when they brought Grandview online, and I don't know all the particulars there or whatnot, but it hasn't been there for a while.
Has your son, he hadn't gone there?
No, but he was staying with my parents a few weeks ago, and I don't remember talking about it, but he knew about it, So evidently I did, and Mom had to take him like every day so he could stand in front of the hospital and get his picture made.
How old is he?
He's 5,
Oh.
James. Yeah.
Wonder what makes him intrigued with that.
I don't know. It's probably my fault letting him watch Ghost Hunters on
Oh yeah,
TV. And
paranormal.
yeah, him and his sister, they get the flashlight out at night and go through the house and say, "There's a ghost in my room." But
If they ever saw one, it'd really scare them. Wouldn't it?
yeah.
Was South Pittsburgh? How many is there? How many people?
It's 2,900, I think. No, 3,295 was the last census.
Did you pretty much stay right there growing up, or did you drive to Nashville or Chattanooga for fun?
I've lived all over the place. I went to the University of Alabama for undergraduate, and then I went to UTC for my master's degree. And after that, I went to Washington, worked for a congressman up there one summer, and the next year I went to Nashville and worked for the Speaker of the House of Representatives for a legislative session. Then I moved to South Florida to Martin County, just north of West Palm Beach, and was the director of marketing and sales for a company that was owned by one of my dad's fraternity brothers from Swanee. And then, I came back from there, and I hated it down there. I didn't know anybody, and
How long was you there?
7 or 8 months, I think. It was the only job I ever quit without having another job. But
Could you just not stand it?
yeah, I just didn't like. It's gonna sound bad. I didn't like the people. I mean, it was a lot of keeping up with the Joneses and a lot of snowbirds that would come down that couldn't drive from up north
Yeah.
every summer. But
What was your degree in?
my undergraduate's in political science with a minor in English, and then my master's is in public administration with a focus on city management and local government.
Boy, that's a big deal. What made you want to be that?
I didn't have any idea what I wanted to be when I was at Alabama. I just wanted to be away from home, and I got interested in politics. My dad has been a football coach for 35, 40 years. I can't remember how long, but he didn't care at all about politics. But my granddad, on the other hand, was mayor of Bridgeport, Alabama for 12 years in the 70s and 80s, and one of the main streets there is Jim B. Thomas Boulevard, and I guess that's where I get my interest in government from. But
How far is Bridgeport from where you lived?
I was just across the state line.
Just like 10 minutes?
Oh yeah.
So it'd be like you lived here and your grandfather was the mayor of Ooltewah
Yeah.
or something.
But he passed away right after I was born, about 6 months after I was born, so I never really got to know him, but grew up hearing a lot about him, and I guess that's where I get my interest. But and at the same time, my second year at Alabama was when September 11th happened, and I think that kind of.
Where was you at when they hit the towers?
I was in my fraternity house. My mom called, and she just, "Bent, something bad's happened. There's a plane that's hit the Twin Towers," and she said, "I don't think it was a coincidence." And I was on the phone with her, and we watched the second one hit together. And
God,
I had to wake everybody up. One of my pledge brothers' dads worked at the Pentagon, and he couldn't get in touch with him for, I think it was like 6 that night when he finally got in touch with him. But he was okay. He'd happened to me across the street. But
what was he just? So he worked at the Pentagon,
yeah,
and so his dad thought he was dead.
well, his son did, yeah. But it's a crazy day. I remember everything about it.
You know where I was at?
Where were you?
John Kinder's office.
Were you really?
Standing in front of the refrigerator. He had the TV on top of the refrigerator.
Mm-hmm.
And Pat came in and said, she thought it was a joke. That was his secretary.
Yeah.
And so I stood there and watched it. But how would that you think that might have inspired you to be in?
Yeah, kind of wanted to do my part in government. I didn't know I'd end up in local government or state government or federal, but I felt like public service would be a fulfilling career.
So it's public service, not necessarily city, city or county management.
Yeah.
You're basically the same thing as what the city manager would be, Joe Fivas, just in the county.
No.
You're like a Joe Fivas and a.
I'm kind of like the Jonathan Joe of the county because that's what I.
And Gary Davis would be the city manager, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, with the city, Joe runs everything, and then with the county, a lot of people don't realize that Gary does the budget and has all these different departments that are under him that he has to run. Then you've got, your road superintendent, your trustee, your register of deeds, minister of elections, county clerk. And I think that's all of them. I'm sure I missed one. And assessor's office that are all independent of Gary, and they, have their staff as well.
But you're not independent of him, right?
No,
or are you?
I'm a political appointee. I work directly for him.
Did when you were in South Pittsburgh, did you do the same thing?
No, I was a city administrator there. I was the city manager, like Joe is here. So, I had 30, 40 employees and volunteer fire department, water, sewer, and gas division that was under and owned by the city. It was a lot.
You must have been pretty young then.
Yeah, I was 30. Pretty sure I was the youngest city manager or city/manager/administrator in the state at the time.
That had to be a record.
I was the youngest one in the association at the time. But
how did you get that job?
Friends with the mayor, and we were real good friends, and he knew I was qualified, and 3 of the 5 commissioners thought the same thing, so they voted to have me do it.
Had the other guy quit?
Yeah, he had left about a year before, and the mayor at the time was the interim city administrator, because in the absence of the city administrator, the mayor becomes the city administrator, and he was doing it on his own, and it was a lot on him. But yeah, I was there about 2 years, and a new administration came in with a new mayor that didn't much like me and got political. And by the grace of God, I was dating my wife now and saw an ad in the Cleveland Daily Banner at my in-laws'
Where
house.
Where was she from?
She's from Birchwood, but I mean she grew up in Cleveland her whole life. So.
Kimball, that's what I was trying to think
Oh,
of.
you're thinking of Kimball.
Kimball, yeah. So how'd you meet her?
Blind date.
She was blind?
I guess so. She married me. One of my real good friends, Rob Varnell. Do you know him? He's the transportation planner at the city now. His dad was an attorney here.
Oh, Bob Varnell's son, maybe?
Yes,
I guess. I don't know him. I knew Bob well.
Well, we worked at the state together for 3 years, and he had left and came up here to work for Seth.
We're at the state.
Well, we were with the local planning and assistance office. We did planning for, at one time I had 3 counties and 9 cities.
Is that what they call regional or district or?
Yeah, we were the Southeast Tennessee region, but it was dissolved when Haslam came in, and he fired 61 people and got rid of an office that had been there since 1935. And that's when I went to South Pittsburgh, and then I came here. But what I'm saying is, I just picked up the paper out there when I was wanting to leave South Pittsburgh, and in the banner there was an ad for a.
But why'd you pick up a Cleveland Banner?
Well, Carrie's mom and dad, they get the banner, or they used to.
But you skipped over how you met her.
Oh, sorry. But no, Rob, every time I talk to him and his wife on Facebook, I'd be like, you got any pretty women up there, that single friends?
Had he already come back to Cleveland?
He had. He was working for Sethra.
Oh.
And I guess I said it one time late at night, and his wife wrote back, We actually did, and they had met Carrie at a party the weekend before. So the next weekend, Rob and them invited me up, and I got to meet her, and we went to the bistro, and we went to the billiards club. And I pretty much knew I wanted to marry her.
Well, that's not been that long ago, has it?
Yeah, about 9 years ago. We've been married 8, so yeah.
And they're from Birchwood?
They are, yeah. We live out on the river out there.
Whereabouts on the river?
Just north of Grasshopper.
What's the name of that?
There's
It's called the name of that subdivision. Isn't there a little circle there?
There's a few subdivisions out there. We're on a farm though. It's my in-laws' farm. There's 70 acres there.
Oh.
But do you know where Joe Moore lives?
No, but is that close to Greg Vital's place? Doesn't he have
we pass
some
it
Brahmas?
Yeah, he's got buffaloes out.
Buffaloes, yeah.
Yeah, in Georgetown. We pass it on the way back and forth. But
Britsville Shores.
I'm not familiar with that one.
That's right inside Birch. What's what they call that area before you get to the shortstop.
Oh, okay.
Britsville Shores.
Okay.
So the old timers call it that. So now when Corey Dival, he was at the county, right?
Yeah, he was.
He was there before you?
Yeah.
Did you know him
Oh, yeah, I've known Corey for a long time.
while he was there?
Yeah.
How'd you run into him?
Oh, we go to these planning retreats
Oh.
and nerdy planning
Was he doing what you were doing?
He was doing the planning side of it, but just the planning side. Actually, Sandra Knight was the department head at the time. She was the engineer there.
Oh, yeah.
And that was before she ran for road superintendent, and she's there now.
You like Cleveland?
I do.
It's bigger than South Pittsburgh, but it's...
I'll be honest with you. For our blind date, I'd never been downtown Cleveland.
Had you just been to Chattanooga, I guess, maybe Ottawa?
Well, when I worked at the state, I had a contract with Ducktown, so I would take the bypass once a month. But
Yeah.
I'd never been downtown Cleveland. But no, I really like it here. It's not too big and it's not too small. You know, it's got a hometown feel, and I like the people.
It's getting a lot busier, isn't it?
Just since I've been here.
It's
Paul
not,
Huff.
Paul Huff is getting so busy. I almost start to avoid it.
Yeah.
Well, do you think that Cleveland is growing more towards the south or the north or the west, or can you tell?
Definitely towards the north. I mean, yeah, I just think it's going to keep going that way.
Why is it that most counties go towards the north?
I couldn't tell you that. I mean, it's probably got to do with infrastructure and roads and
Valleys,
what services are available, where the flat land is.
Do you know they say 89% of the counties, of the cities, moves towards the northwest?
Oh, really? I haven't seen
I
that.
think it's because of the ridge lines or the valleys.
Okay. Huh.
Makes sense,
Yeah.
doesn't it? Do you have any engineering background at all?
Mm-mm. No, I don't.
Just planning and civil service?
Yeah, and before I started my planning job at the state, I didn't have any planning background either. But my 4 years at the state of Tennessee was like a 4-year degree in planning, because they sent us to every kind of educational opportunities we possibly could have. Then we had to start teaching them before I left. So,
Do you think planning is all about progress?
define progress.
I mean, if there was I remember on Mayberry when they were getting the interstate, they were going to get an interstate, and it was going to take out Wally's gas station,
Yeah.
and so they didn't do it, and everybody was mad at Wally, and Andy convinced them that if the interstate had come by there, then they wouldn't have their hometown, and so they all started making him his hero instead of being mad at him.
Yeah.
So if we get too busy, is it going to be something we don't? I mean, me and you've just said we don't want to be on Paul Huff.
Yeah.
I remember driving down this road when it all went down to 2 lanes, and
Well, I'll tell you, Dee, I mean, in the past year or two, probably year and a half, really started during the pandemic. But I've met people from Chicago, New York, Washington State, California, St. Louis, Vermont. They're all moving here, and I mean, they talk about taxes and crime, and we don't have an income tax in the state of Tennessee. And I always ask, you're coming from San Diego to Cleveland?
78-degree weather every day?
It was the one guy from San Diego said, he had bought a farm off Spring Place, down on Spring Place, sight unseen, just off the internet, moved here. But he said, he didn't tell me what his profession was, but he said, I've worked my whole life and I'm going to be able to retire in 2 or 3 years. But if I stay in California, they're going to take 2/3 of my pension. So he said, I'd be crazy to stay.
How would they take it? Through taxes? Or
I guess so, yeah.
Now, why do those places have to have so much taxes?
Well, I guess some places think that government's the solution to everything. That's
Or
really
is
not
it just,
the case.
or is it the more people you get, the more it costs to?
Well, it depends on what services government provides. I mean, the problem with, not that it's a problem, but a lot of times these people move here because of the low taxes, but want the same services they were getting in St. Louis, Chicago, or California.
What are they sacrificing, reckon? Would you say?
More bureaucracy.
I mean, what services would they have? I mean, say you're moving
It's
from
just more public transit, just more things that here the private sector provides.
Say if you're in San Diego and you've done like this guy, and he gets down here and he says, "Wait a minute, I didn't realize y'all didn't have so and so." I can't even think of what that would be.
Garbage pickup
In the county.
Well, not here, but in some counties, fire protection. More police presence, stuff like that. I mean,
A free concert maybe or something.
yeah, I mean,
Of course, we got the parks thing. Do you think that there's a big difference between the way government would operate in the county of some big county than they do here?
oh yeah, definitely.
Is it mostly just providing of services, or is it?
What's that and more regulation? I mean, our zoning and our subdivision regulations here are very fundamental. I mean, and the way I look at it, if more people wanted more regulation when it comes to zoning, they would ask for it. So, I mean, I don't think it's my job to continue to put more and more regulations on the books to
I can't even think of anything to put on there.
yeah. I mean, you could put more and more restrictions in zoning and tell people more and more of what they can and can't do with their property.
Like the city has more zoning.
Oh, yeah.
Now, is that typically because there's more people in the city?
Yeah, and it's more dense.
So the more dense, the more regulations you need?
I didn't say that, but
would that
there usually is more regulation.
Is that the reasoning?
I would say, yeah.
I mean, I don't know that that's it, but I guess the closer people are living, the more you want to regulate your neighbor.
I guess.
But if you had so many regulations, why not just move into an apartment complex where everything's got a rule?
Yeah. Or a subdivision with an HOA.
Oh, yeah. Boy. When did those come about? Have they been around forever and we just now started getting them, what about?
I mean, I've seen private restrictions on deeds from 100 years ago that say no liquor stores or stuff like that, but
No commercial?
yeah, and I mean, I guess it came out of the private restrictions because the only way to enforce them is through either a court order or an HOA. I mean, the restrictions are only as good as they are enforceable.
Say you had a piece of property
Mm-hmm.
and it was restricted against say you had a piece of property that was in the county and it said not for commercial use, which is typical.
Yeah.
If it's not a subdivision restriction, but it was just something that
The developer put on there.
or the guy that sold it to the person.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's only enforceable if one of the neighbors gets upset and takes you to court and gets a judge to make a ruling on it. I mean,
But
the county has no authority over
no,
private restrictions.
that's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
and that'd be a legal thing anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And so who's to say? But subdivision regulations is another thing.
Yeah, subdivision regulations that the county planning commission has adopted. Yeah, that's something different.
I remember when Von Hamilton, you don't remember him, but he would. I remember when the county started getting adopting subdivision regulations, and he went all over town against them. Everywhere he went, he was just obsessed with it. And I guess it was just that Bradley County was getting big enough to have them.
Yeah.
Because when you get so big, you got to have them, or we'd be the Wild West.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like things like access. I mean, you can see out in the county where before subdivision regulations, you've got, well, there's one on Van Davis where there's probably 60 lots that have been surveyed out with 2 roads going through it. There's individual property owners to all those 60 lots. The survey was recorded with the Register of Deeds. The lots were sold. The county wasn't involved to make sure the road was built, and the road was never built. So those people are sitting there with lots they can't build on now, but
They can't. I think I know the one you're talking about. It's like grown up too.
I've never been out there. I've just seen it on the maps, but we have a lot of those in the county, and what it was, there wasn't a process. They just went and recorded a plat and sold lots, and then the developer's gone down the road, and
I don't know
made his money.
I don't know how to solve all those either. Do you? Just have to buy it all out and change the restrictions, I guess.
I guess. I mean, but you'd have to get with each individual property owner. It'd be a mess. I mean.
Mm-hmm. So that's why we need some of that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, if you go to another county in Tennessee, are there rules? You're just there to oversee the process that we have.
Yeah.
Now, if you go to another county in Tennessee, they could have another process, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. In Tennessee, planning's not mandated like it is in some other states. Polk County doesn't have zoning.
No zoning in Polk County?
Most counties don't. I mean,
that's not rare, right?
I mean, the big 4 counties do. We do, and there's some other counties that do. But I would.
What are the big 4?
We know Knoxville, Nashville, Chattanooga, and Memphis. Nashville's metro, so it's government counties all the same.
Is that what they mean when they say metro?
Yeah, metropolitan government's a combined city-county government.
Now, if they did that, would the city have to take in the whole county?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, that'd never go over here, would it?
No, it wouldn't.
Or Polk County.
Yeah, not in Polk. But no, then I believe like Meggs has zoning, but doesn't have subdivision regulations. I think it used to be like that. But yeah, some counties don't have anything.
I think that people are more aware of subdivisions that aren't. Maybe lawyers and stuff are more familiar with. Well, I guess it'd be like if they didn't do the road, then you'd have what they call it, a landlocked piece of property.
Yeah.
So in Bradley County, you can't create a landlocked piece of property.
No.
In Polk County, can you?
No, they have subdivision regulations, but if you didn't have subdivision regulations, you could.
Because Polk County has subdivision regulations.
I believe
but
so.
Not
yeah.
zoning.
Yeah, they don't have zoning. But in Hamilton, they allow easements where it can be landlocked if you have easement access back to it, but we don't allow that. We have either private roads or
Once
public
you allow
roads.
that easement for ingress and egress, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
that gets to be real complicated.
Oh, yeah.
Because they'll have a easement over the side of a hill you can't get to,
Yeah, I
but
wouldn't,
share a driveway.
I wouldn't advise buying property off of an easement.
Now, if you have a, what's that Homestead Act where if you use something openly and actively for so many years and it becomes yours, that's hard to enforce, isn't it?
Yes, my dad though him and his two sisters inherited some property after my grandfather died, and they lost it like that. They didn't know they had it. They were paying their taxes on it, but somebody had settled and put up a fence, and I don't remember how many acres it was, but they took it like that back in the early 80s.
That would be a hard thing to enforce. That's like making you have to go look at it twice a year and make sure nobody's living there.
Yeah. I don't know if they have that in Tennessee. I believe that was Alabama where I'm talking about, but I'm not very versed on it.
Because some of these homeless people, if they were to go camp out in my backyard for 2 days, maybe they'd own it. Let them pay the taxes, right?
Yeah, really.
But we got to have some rules. But you're just there to oversee the process of it. But like the building inspections department, to me that would be massive. I mean, how do they get around everywhere in a day's time? They have.
Very busy.
I mean, they have to really stick with a schedule.
Yeah, that's why we asked that you give us 24-hour notice before you have before we do an inspection. I know some developers and contractors don't like that, but that gives us an opportunity at the end of the day to strategize about where we're going to go and where.
If it rains, if it doesn't rain.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And what about those? But you oversee that department too, right?
I do. Yeah.
Whew. Seems like that ought to be its own department. It's so massive.
Well, Ron does a really good job.
He does a good job.
Yeah.
He keeps it organized too.
Michael's doing a really good job too. I don't know if you met him.
I've seen him. He checks. He just goes on. He doesn't.
Well, he passed his building inspection exam the first month, and that's the first one I
Where's
hired.
he from?
He's from here, I think.
What's his last? Chastain?
Chastain, yeah. He's got a jiu-jitsu dojo down on Blue Springs Road.
Oh.
That him and his wife do on the side.
So I better not argue with him.
I wouldn't, no.
But let me ask you this. How big can that job get that you're at?
I mean, they could continue to add departments. I don't.
Under you?
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. If that's what the county decided they wanted to do, or what Gary wanted to do, yeah. I mean, I'm really not for it, but there's been some talk about bringing septic approval in-house, which I don't have any expertise on at all.
No, that would be a mess.
And then,
because you got to really know what you're doing on septics.
And then there's been some talk in the past, which I think our engineer now, Mac McCarley, does a good job. He's third party. I pay him a contractual fee, to do it on the side. But there's been some talk about hiring a full-time county engineer. Is
that the guy that goes out and inspects roads?
Mm-hmm.
He's strict.
Yeah.
I've dealt with him.
But
Mr. McCarley.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he doesn't let you slide with nothing. Do you like being down in the basement?
I do, actually.
If you were out where people could access you easily, it'd be hard to get anything done.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty easily accessible, I would say, down there. But I like where I'm at.
Do you ever see Stanley up there? Does he ever come? He doesn't come down, does he?
I go visit him about once a day. He's a good friend of mine.
Stanley is real smart.
Mm-hmm.
Real smart.
Yeah.
We played baseball on the same team.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, Little League Baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I know.
You used to work there, didn't you?
I used to work there, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was me and Stanley worked together. I forget how long I was there. I really can't remember. Stanley's got a real good memory.
Mm-hmm.
He's been in that job since he was
right out of high school, wasn't it?
No, he bagged groceries at
college.
He bagged groceries at a grocery store
Oh yeah.
at behind the chef. What was the name? Well, you don't remember. You I can't remember the name of that. I want to say Calpies or Super Saver, something like that. But anyway, and then he went from there to working right at the assessor's office.
Mm-hmm.
So do you living in Birchwood? How long does it take you to get to work?
About 35 minutes.
Golly,
I'm used to it.
it's an easy drive, isn't it?
Oh yeah, 60.
Except what happens when you get there at the school at Hopewell?
Well, my son started kindergarten there Tuesday, so I've got to stop there every day.
He start last Tuesday?
Yeah, he did. And then my daughter's at Wesley United Methodist. They're off Peerless.
What grade is she?
But she's 3 years old.
Oh.
So.
You know, I sent my kids I sent one to that early kindergarten and one I didn't. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it did much good.
Well, they do a good job at Wesley. I mean, we really have been happy with them. That's where James went as well, and seem to be very prepared.
You think they're ahead from kindergarten when they go?
Well, I think he's very prepared, yeah.
Was your dad big into education?
He was big into football. But he was a history teacher. And
did he want you to be a big football player?
No, he never pushed me to do that. He played college football up at Swanee and for Shirley Majors, Johnny's dad.
Mm-hmm.
And his football's through and through in his blood. But no, he never really pushed me. I was actually a skateboarder when I was in high school. But my
where'd you skateboard at?
All over the place in tournaments.
You went to tournaments?
Yeah, Nashville. And
did you wear the flat shoes?
the flat shoes.
Yeah, it's the skater shoes.
Yeah, Vans.
Yeah, Vans.
Yeah.
They're real flat on the bottom, right?
Mm-hmm. But no, my senior year, my dad was the head coach at North Jackson, and I was the place kicker, so I got to play for him.
Is that where you go?
Oh yeah, my claim to fame's hitting a 27-yard from the hard hash field goal against Philip Rivers when he was in high school at Athens. Yeah, that was great.
Tell me about that.
Dad called field goal, and I was like, oh crap.
What made him think to call that? Did he know you could kick it?
Yeah, it looked like a dead duck, but it went through. I couldn't believe it. They had already said it was no good on the radio, and then they were like, "Oh, it's good." My grandparents were.
What did
listening.
it do? Just hit it like that or something? Just barely?
Yeah, it did. But that's the only field goal I kicked the whole year. I kicked extra points most of the time.
Why did you want to be the kicker?
I don't know. I had big calves because I skated, and I didn't like getting hit.
Did you skateboard in high school too?
Yeah. But then I went off to college and I stopped.
It's not too cool in college, is it,
No.
to skateboard?
I mean, fraternity boys at University of Alabama skateboarding.
Yeah. Did you just watch the skateboards on the Olympics?
I did, yeah.
Could you do any of those tricks?
No. I was good, but I wasn't.
What did they do then when you were going through? What kind of did they have? They didn't have those advanced tricks that they got now.
Well, yeah, you had kick flips and hill flips and 360 kick flips and stuff like that. But, I mean, those guys are crazy.
And the women
Amazing.
too.
Oh, yeah.
So, what do they mean? I've watched all of those during the Olympics, but I never could figure out why they called it. They'd say he called error. Called error. I don't know what they're talking about. No. They'd say no error.
No way.
A heel kick with no error.
I don't know.
It means you don't grab it. Somehow or another, the board flips itself.
Oh,
and
okay. With no grab?
No grab. That's what they call it.
Okay.
What does that mean?
Well, it just means that you don't grab your board when you're in the air, I guess.
Could you do those?
Yeah. About 20 years ago.
So you'd go up and then flip the board, and
yeah.
I can't see you doing that.
Not many people can.
Now, now, when you were in South Pittsburgh, where did they have a place to ride skateboards like that?
All over the city, downtown. I mean, we didn't have a skate park or anything, but then we'd come up to Chattanooga and go downtown Chattanooga as well.
Do they have skate parks there?
They opened one my senior year in high school down close to the pavilion next to Finley Stadium.
Do they have like a swimming pool?
They don't have a swimming pool. They got a lot of ramps though.
I never could figure out if it's not like swimming. If you go to a park and say, "I'm gonna get in the pool," if you got out there and started skating, you might skate into somebody.
Yeah.
I mean, what would they say? Okay, you go first, and then I'll go.
Just kind of happens. I don't know. I never really thought about it.
So that gave you the big calves to get you on to kicking.
Yeah.
But now back to this planning. Is that what you think you will do from now on?
We'll see. I mean, I don't have any plans of doing anything else right now, but you never know.
Do you foresee yourself staying in Bradley County? Just
Oh yeah, I don't have any plans of leaving.
do you have a book that you go by and say, okay, here's what we do here? I guess that's the.
The subdivision regulations, yeah.
But some things is zoning.
And the zoning resolution.
So there's zoning.
Yeah, they're two different documents.
Zoning resolution
Mm-hmm.
and the
Subdivision regulations.
subdivision, and then what else is there? Then
Yep.
the building regulations.
You have your International Building Code, your fire code. You have private road restrictions. You have cluster development guidelines. Your airspace zoning for the airport. But I'm sure I'm missing something. But,
So
yeah.
are these all in a book or what?
Oh, they're all individual documents.
How do you know where to go look?
I just know.
When you first came here, did you know where to go look?
Yeah. I mean, I had to.
Is it in a file that says airport air file?
It's all digital on our server. I mean, I've got it all printed out for me, but it's all on the server there.
But what if they've changed something over the years?
They have. I have all the versions. Every time they've changed the zoning or subdivision regulations, I have all those on my computer.
Like addendums or something?
Yeah. So I keep them archived so that I can go back and see what was, on the books whenever they did, something 20 years ago or something like that.
Boy, that seems like a lot of work.
That's good.
Do you have like on the Board of Zoning Appeals? I know I'm on that board now, but I've not been on it that long.
Yeah.
But prior to that, they tell me it was harder to get things a variance, right?
Yeah.
Just difficult,
I guess. Yeah.
more strict.
Yeah, I see my role as giving you guys as much information as I possibly can about the situation without trying to persuade you one way or another, because the BZA is a quasi-judicial board, and whatever y'all rule on can only be appealed to court. It can't be appealed to the county commission or the planning commission or any other governing body. It has to go to court. So, and there are planners that don't do that, that either say, you need to deny this or approve this. And I'll do that with the zoning, rezonings, and variant or subdivision variance requests and other things, but not with the BZA. I mean, because whatever y'all rule, that's it.
Is what court would they have to appeal to?
Chancery, I would imagine. I don't know that I've ever had one in 15 years of doing this that's actually went to court, but
Yeah, that would be a lot of expense to get a storage building 9 foot from the property line or something.
yeah.
Usually, when people get to the variance board, they got a problem. They're not trying to get around something. They just got a problem.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff we see, like the one last month, with the small lots. I mean, there was no other way to do that.
No other way.
The septic systems were existing. It's not like we're approving it and then they'll go get turned down by TDEC. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, I've worked with some that are tough. I mean, over the years.
Now, when the city takes in a piece of property, is it then out of your jurisdiction, out of the county?
Yes. It falls under all their guidelines and.
What if there's a county guideline that's stricter than the city's, and the city takes over this property?
It doesn't matter. I mean.
You don't go with the stricter.
The city's regulations would supersede the county's in, even if they were less stringent.
Now, they say subdivision restrictions, if they're brought into the city, then whichever like setbacks are the stricter is the one you have to go by. So you always have to double check that.
That's the way they do it in the city. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. Yeah, so it may be, in other words, I've got to look at what the county, what it would have been if it was in the county, what it is in the city, what it is for the subdivision, what it is for the HOA, and what it is for the historical committee. So there's a lot of, and whichever one's the stricter is the one you go by.
Okay.
So when the city takes a piece of property in the county's basically just giving it up, I guess, right?
Well, yeah, but I mean, they can't just take it like they used to. You have to, the property owners have to, request to be annexed in, or they have to hold a referendum election.
Did they used to just could take it in?
Yeah, up until 5 or 6 years ago, the state legislature changed it to where you can no longer annex by ordinance. You have to you still annex by ordinance, but it's Mike Carter, the state rep that just passed. He was the one that got all that passed, and he called it forced annexation. And basically, they could write an ordinance, take whatever they wanted to, as long as it was in the growth plan, and write a plan of services that weren't very specific, and it's theirs. But yeah, all that changed.
They could take it all in.
No.
In theory.
Well, no, you have your urban growth boundary that's around the city.
Who creates the urban growth boundary?
It was created, probably 20 years here. But there's a coordinating committee that gets together. It's a massive process, and the city, the county, and Charleston all have to agree on the changes, and they also had to agree to the map the first time they put it together. And it's a huge process. I started one in Ducktown when I was working at the state, and I think it took them 4 or 5 years to get it settled.
So they have to agree, both sides have to agree that this is our growth in the future? Mm-hmm. What if one side says, we don't want any growth at all?
Well, that's what holds it up. I mean...
Can they just stay with that?
I would assume so, yeah. Kill the whole process, but typically over the years they'll come to some sort of conclusion.
It's like saying, we the county are going to eventually, in sometime in the next 20 years, let the city have this.
I guess, yeah.
But
then in that growth plan, you can also put places that are rural, that are to stay rural. So that way, they can't be annexed in the future.
Which is sort of controlling the growth, at least. Mm-hmm. Boy, it's complicated. When did all this city and county stuff come about in our whole history? I mean, they came over on the Mayflower.
Yeah.
They moved the Indians out. And when did they start saying, hey, let's have... I mean, they didn't have it in Dodge City, right?
No, but Washington, D.C., Charleston, Savannah, I think were some of the earliest actual planned cities, the way they were laid out.
Which would have been the first one? New York, I guess?
I don't know. I think Charleston or Savannah, because there was the colony of Georgia prior.
What was the name of them? The Rowans?
I don't know.
The ones that got killed and they never... Know what happened to them? Is that where they landed?
No, I think that was,
The Fusky Islands?
yeah, further north.
Yeah. Like Blood Island, they call it.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the first ones that they said, okay, we're going to have a planned city.
Mm-hmm. Then you lay it out, and I mean, you can see how Washington, D.C. is if you look over the top, how the streets all go out. And,
Like a pentagon or...
yeah.
Well, there's a lot of theories about that, isn't it? Why it's designed that way and the devil's Satan's thing. So they started that. Was that over in England? Did they do that in England?
Deer. I don't know.
I assume they did, and so they brought that over here. You know, it's like we're getting away from that, and they're going to create it over here. So in the future, will we just keep having this? I mean, eventually, with growth, everybody will be inside one city.
Well,
I mean, I don't know where it ends.
well, I mean, there's some cities that have just an urban center, and you can't go past that urban center. All that has to stay rural. I mean, and then your parks too. I mean,
What town would say this is all we're going to do, and these have to be? I mean, in other words, they never got into no 20-year growth.
Seattle or Portland or somewhere out west that I'd read an article about that. They call it the urban fringe area, but
So it never, nobody ever agreed to make it any bigger, I guess.
I guess not.
But now they're doing this where you can annex into the city and not be contiguous, right?
Oh yeah,
That gets real complicated.
it does. Yes. Yeah, but with those, if it's non-contiguous, the county actually has to agree to the plan of services about who's responsible, either the city or county, for the maintenance of the road, the police protection, the fire protection, utilities, all that in that area in between the parcel that's been non-contiguously annexed and the city.
So it's like saying we're going to come back and get the everything between later.
Not necessarily, no. I mean, I think a lot of it's
They're
done.
saying we're going to provide services.
Well, I think a lot of it's done, or I know a lot of it's done, because the city won't, their policy, or Cleveland Utilities policy is you can't tie under sewer unless you request to be annexed into the city. And so most of these that you see that aren't contiguous are new subdivisions that are hooking on the sewer. Like you said earlier, I mean, with sewer you can make denser, more houses, more money.
So with a plan of services, I could go out to a 2-acre field in Buck's Pocket and make that into the city as long as I had a plan of services. Not do it, just a plan.
Well, plan of services that's agreed to by the city and the county. But that, wherever it's at, has to be in the urban growth boundary as well. It can't just be out in Buck's Pocket.
It has to be in that urban growth that they agreed on
Yeah,
20 years ago.
yeah.
Or are they doing any more growth studies that are going to be set up for the next 20 years, or what they do it ever?
Well, this one's 20 years. Well, they call it a 20-year study, but it's really however long it is till you change it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Boy, that gets complicated, doesn't it?
it does.
None of it's going to remain the same, right?
No.
What if you said in our 20-year growth plan, we're going to be part of Ottawa,
Well,
and everybody agreed?
you couldn't do that because it's another county. You can't go outside the limits of your county.
But you can go outside your limits of your city,
Yeah.
not your county.
No.
And who says that?
The state legislature. And they're the ones that set up all the counties years ago, and their boundaries as well. And if you want the boundaries of your counties changed, you have to go through the legislature, and this county and this county have to agree to what changes are being made. We had that when I was working in Marion County, where there's a subdivision that was partially in Marion and partially in no, Franklin County, and both Marion and Franklin had different lines through the middle of it, and they both claimed that they were right. And the county attorney's like, if there's a murder there, I mean, it could get thrown out of court because,
It's nowhere.
nobody knows what's right. So both Franklin and Marion had to agree on a new line, and then I guess it was ratified at the state legislature.
So it would be a real distinct between the property line, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So these property lines were set by the state legislature back originally
The county lines.
when?
Oh. I imagine in the 1800s when Tennessee was set up. I mean, I know they've changed over the years.
Because it was North Carolina at one time, right? Wasn't North Carolina to Tennessee, or what? How does that go?
I think so, yeah.
It was one state.
But I think like where Birchwood's at, that was its own separate county at a time, like Ottawa.
I think so.
Called,
Harrison?
no,
Bristol Shores?
I can't remember. But I know that was all separate at one time.
Boy, you would have to get a lot of people to agree to change a county line.
Yeah.
And so whoever surveyed it would be the authority.
Well, yeah.
Have you ever seen a survey be off?
Yeah.
Well, I had one the other day that was off. I'd never seen a survey off. And that could be real problems. I mean, it'd have a ripple effect forever because, the points have to close. The dimensions.
Yeah, we had a surveyor in South Pittsburgh that was surveying off Google Earth. He wasn't actually going out. And he sold all these lots, built the road through there. It was never legitimately surveyed. It looked good on paper.
Yeah.
But
So he was doing the calls and everything, or the...
just faked it all. And then they got a rural surveyor involved when they realized he wasn't legit and went out there, and the road was all through people's front yards. And
What did they do?
the new surveyor did a new survey. Every property owner had to sign off on the plat saying that they agreed. Some of them lost property, some of them gained property, but yeah, it was a disaster.
Did that guy go to jail?
I think he did go to prison.
You should. Because that Google Earth or Google Maps is not that accurate.
No, it's not.
You ever have people pull up the topo and overlay it on the... I do that sometimes at the office, and they're within... They can be off 5 feet.
Yeah.
It's very inaccurate. It's a little better than just going out there and looking. But it's convenient.
Yeah.
What's the difference between Google Maps and Google Earth?
I think Google Earth is a program, isn't it? And Google Maps, you just get online on the internet.
Google Earth costs money and Google Maps doesn't. So
Okay.
I don't know. But there's got to be some advantage. Maybe Google Earth is more accurate.
I don't know.
Do you think these surveyors will eventually one day just not even go to the... They say now some appraisers are appraising from Google Earth and taking that little man and looking at it from the road, on Google Earth and appraising like that. Will they eventually...
I've had appraisers from all over the country call me. I mean, on property here, and
And
I know they're not here.
They're not coming.
Yeah. So
So I wonder when they'll start, when you'll have a guy in Cincinnati, Ohio, appraising your property and surveying it.
I don't know.
Because it's going to get more, it's like Google Earth is probably more accurate than it was.
As technology advances, you're gonna have all kinds of new stuff.
You're not a flat Earth conspiracy theorist, are you?
Depends on what the subject is.
You think it possibly is flat?
No, not about the Earth being
No.
flat, but I can be a conspiracy theorist on some stuff.
Bigfoot?
Probably.
I think there's a Bigfoot.
I don't think there's been too many sightings over
Too
the years
many.
for them not to be.
It's too possible.
Yeah.
Did you ever gone to the Bigfoot Museum? And
No, I haven't.
I went to that here a while back, and
Where's it at?
it's in Blue Ridge,
Oh, really?
between Blue Ridge and LJ. It's on the right. It's real neat. They got free coffee, and you walk around. They got a movie they play,
Yeah.
and you can watch the movie. They believe there's Bigfoot.
In Blue Ridge?
Yep, they really do. There's a lady in Newport, Tennessee, claims that they come to her house.
Really?
You can read it online. It says they come to her house, and they knock on the back door, and they ask for a cup of sugar. You can see her talking online. She really believes
that. When
that.
I get home.
What about UFOs?
Yeah, I believe in them.
Possible?
I don't know what they are, but I mean, the federal government's even, admitting it after all these years. So yeah, I believe in UFOs. I mean,
The Tic Tac. You studied
Oh,
the
yeah.
Tic Tac?
I mean, again, I don't know what they are, but they are unidentified. And
Me and my cousin drove to Area 51.
really,
We flew to Las Vegas, rented a car, 2.5 hour drive. The last 45 minutes was on a dirt road.
could you see it?
We got to that place, where you see online where that gray
point.
car is sitting,
Yeah.
the sign, the gray car.
Yeah.
There was a sign and a gray car, no fences. It was just far enough where you could see there was two people in the truck, and it said, "Do not cross this point. Deadly force will be used." and they evidently were serious because
Oh, yeah.
it was in the middle of nowhere. And
Well, a few years ago, they had that guy online create that event to rush Area 51,
oh yeah,
and like thousands of people signed up.
yeah.
And the feds were like, "We're serious,"
They are. There. I know one thing. They don't want you going past that sign. I know that from first-hand experience.
Yeah.
And as we were going, taking pictures in that direction, none of those developed.
Really?
None.
Huh.
I mean, it's one of those cheap Polaroid, cameras, just disposable. I didn't do it from, because there's no. I mean, it's just straight 2.5 hours. I bet I saw past 5 cars. If you just had car trouble, you'd die, because it's 110 degrees, or either minus, or either like 30 degrees in the winter.
Has this been recently, or did y'all just do it on a whim?
Probably 8 years ago, 10 years ago.
Is this something you wanted to do?
Yeah, I always wanted to go to Rachel, Nevada. You ever seen that online?
Yeah.
That's that town
It's
outside
a
of
little,
Area 51.
Little alien.
Little alien inn.
Yeah.
And population 6. And I've got pictures
Really?
of me talking to that lady. And I asked her if there were aliens there, and she said, "Where are you from?" I said, "Tennessee." She said, "Well, you're an alien." That's all she said.
Wow.
But what other conspiracy theories?
Oh, I don't know.
Theories. John F. Kennedy murder?
I don't think it's possible Oswald could do it on his own. I mean, you look at the video and it looks just like he got shot in the front of his head. I mean,
Yeah, that's obvious, isn't it?
his head goes this way, not this
Yeah.
way. So, yeah.
And no magic bullet theory, right? Or it ricocheted around.
No,
and-
it's not possible. No,
but the flat Earth, I don't go for that one.
no.
It'd be too big of a secret.
Yeah.
And I'm too familiar with how surveys kind of
Well,
curve.
Well, if Earth was flat, when you go out on a boat in the ocean, you'd be able to see a whole lot further than what you can see. I mean, the reason there's a horizon is because there's curvature.
But these people that believe in that flat Earth are serious. I've got one he says he's going to come on and talk to me.
He really believes
He
the Earth's
really
flat?
believes it. That's the first thing I asked him. I said, "I don't want you to come unless you got proof." He said he had proof.
Well, I'd like to see the proof.
So describe to me your day.
Every day's different. I mean,
What time do you get up?
now I get up 5:30. My wife teaches at Udoy Elementary, so she has to leave the house about 6:45, and then I'd have to get James to Hopewell by 7:30. So yeah, I get up about 5:30.
God, what time do you have to go to bed to do that?
I usually go to bed about 10 or 10:30.
So tomorrow's, he started school last Tuesday?
Oh yeah. Yeah, tomorrow's an early morning.
Is he going to ride the bus home or what?
We don't have buses to Hamilton County from.
How did you get him to go to Hamilton County schools?
Or to Bradley?
Yeah.
You can go if they don't have a capacity issue and turn you down. And I just talked to the principal, and she interviewed me and him. And I think their main concern is attendance, with him not living in the county. But I think the tax dollars with the counties go wherever the kid goes. Now, if he went to Cleveland City Schools, I'd have to pay. But
so that's more convenient for you to take him, obviously.
oh yeah,
So that's the school that's convenient. Do you ever think you'll move into Cleveland?
I have to see. I mean, I like where I live now.
Are you across Highway 60, 58, 58 to 58?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean,
You're almost into Birchwood
we are in Birchwood on the river. I mean, you turn at the gas station in Birchwood to go out to our house.
on the left.
But yeah, I like where we live.
Dr. Smith lives out there.
Smith.
Yeah. Paul Smith.
No, Dr. Pat Stone has a house.
Dr. Paul Smith lives out there.
Okay.
It's so rough riding a school bus at 5, 6, 7-year-old. Did you ride the school bus?
I didn't, no.
I did. It's no fun. It's a whole nother world. I rode it quite a bit. A lot of bullies and etc. It can be rough.
Yeah.
Because you're in school a whole nother hour. You have to get up. So if you went to Birchwood School, elementary school, you'd have to get. If you lived in Birchwood, you'd have to get on the bus at what time?
It's a 35-minute drive if you're not stopping everywhere. So I would imagine at least an hour and a half. I mean, before daylight.
Because school starts at that age. You ever notice they have the earlier kids start early than the older kids?
Yeah, they start at 7:45 at Hopewell here, but then they get out at 2:45.
Who's available at 2:45 to take their kids home?
We're not. That's why we pay for aftercare.
What is that? They stay there?
Yeah, the YMCA administers it.
So they have it at the school? What do they do? Get the gym or something?
Every time I picked him up this week, he's been playing with Legos. So
In the gym?
they were in the cafeteria.
Because he can't go home.
Yeah, see, Carrie gets out at Oolab around 3, and then she immediately drives to get him, but it's still, 3:30, 3:45 until she can get him.
Makes for a long day, doesn't it?
Yeah.
All to learn algebra.
Yeah, he played. I helped coach James's baseball team last year, and I mean, a lot of those games don't start till like 7. And if they're at Blue Springs,
Think about it.
we get home about 10:30, 11 at night, and they're during the week. But he loves baseball. He really does.
And he's what? How old? 5?
He's 5, yeah.
So you might not get home till 10:30. Boy, that makes for a long day.
That's a long day. Yeah.
When I was growing up, it was baseball, football, or basketball, and the seasons didn't overlap.
Yeah, they do now. They have fall ball. I think they're playing right now, if I'm not mistaken. But we decided not to play fall ball since he was starting elementary.
Did you tell him he couldn't play?
He didn't know about it.
Oh, he didn't. He will now if he watches this, right?
Oh, yeah, he will.
I don't know if all of that education is all that really important to just, I don't know, it's just.
As long as they keep critical race theory out of it.
See, I don't even know what that is. I mean, nobody else knows what it is either. They just.
Yeah, I mean, as long as they stick to the math and science and history.
Reading, writing, and arithmetic,
Yeah.
right? You ever read that book, All You Need to Know by the 4th grade?
No.
Guy wrote a book about you've learned all you need to know by the 4th grade, and that's not far off. Did you graduate in political science or just the civic stuff?
From Alabama?
Yeah.
It's political science.
And then there's something else you call
I have a master's degree in public administration from UTC.
So public administration would be what? Could it
Man-
be a hospital administrator?
It can be any public sector organization, government.
What's the difference between that and business?
Well, that's business management. That's private entities.
Would you
versus
manage
public.
Would you manage a public entity different than a business entity?
Well, yeah, I mean, governments are ran by taxes. Private industries are ran by profit.
So there's a difference in the thinking, I guess, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't go into work every morning trying to make the most money for my department. We're there to like help the developers and the home builders. That's something I always try to instill, and all the guys that work for me, we're paid by tax dollars, We're not here to make their lives miserable or a lot harder. We're here to help them,
What's the worst thing that a builder does when he's like calls at 10 o'clock and says we're pouring a footing at 1?
Yeah,
and
that happens.
Can you be here because the customer's going to get mad and we got to get this footing in?
Yeah.
What do? I wouldn't even want to hear it. I just had to say this is our policy and we can't waver.
Well, most of them know it now. I mean, once Ron put that 24-hour thing in, we don't have any other choice. I mean, we can't. We have to be able to organize the day,
When I first started building, a building permit was $25, and you got it from the assessor's office. They wrote the building permit, and you had to have that to get electricity. And the only inspector in the county and the city was Ralph York, and he inspected your footing, and that was it.
Yeah. How long ago was that?
That was
30 years ago?
30 years ago, 35. So, and I don't know if it's any better now. I guess it is. But how does your, now y'all check plumbing too, right?
Yeah, as long as it's not on Cleveland Utilities. Cleveland Utilities still does their own plumbing inspections, but yeah, we do all the other ones.
So you go out and check insulation? I should know this, but my guy Tony usually calls, and then I get the email saying, I just know that when we get ready to have sheetrock delivered, it's going to be a day or two.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
So does the county go by the 2016 building code, Southern Building Code?
I believe that's the one we're still on, yes.
Now the city's recently gone to 2018.
Yeah, we haven't changed. I think it's the 16.
So who determines that?
Well, the state puts in mandates to where you have to adopt certain codes by a certain time once they say you have to.
It's like a 2-year delay or something. But would the city be made to go out into 2018 but the county not?
No, they could have. You can choose to go to a higher code if you want to. I think the county's philosophy has always been, we'll wait till we have to move up because I think the last one has some energy stuff in there where you have to do blower door tests and.
Plus, they change stuff.
Yeah.
So
the state exempts stuff out of the appendix of them.
That's right.
Too, so.
And so they want to let that run its course. But the city has told me that they're now under 2018. They have to be. So maybe they chose to adopt it.
Possibly.
Who sends you the letter saying you got to be under 2016 now?
It would be Gary Farley, Department of Commerce and Insurance. He would probably be the one.
Send you a letter or call you?
It'd be a letter. It'd probably go to Gary and me. But
And say what?
You've got to adopt this by this date.
Because it's to Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
Because now who's telling him to do it?
I would imagine it is just him because he's over building inspections for the
For
whole
the whole state.
Yeah.
Would it be the insurance company? Maybe?
I don't know. I don't know how that's set up.
So he's in charge of that's the guy in charge of all the inspections, the minimum inspections.
Yeah, and he's got a lot of people that work under him too.
So if you're in the city, you can supersede that,
Yeah, I mean,
I guess.
Yeah, I would. They'll let you adopt higher, more restrictive code or regulations.
I would just do like the county and stick with whatever the state's recommending. I mean, why do I want to second guess the state?
I don't know.
Just make things more difficult on myself? You know.
You'd have to ask the city.
I know they started requiring these windows that kids could get out of if a house burned,
Oh yeah.
and we all started putting those in there. And then the next year, they started not allowing us to not put them in because the kids couldn't get out of the window. Same window.
Yeah.
They made you put them in so kids could get out of the window in case of a fire, and the next year they made you not put them in because kids couldn't get out in case of a fire. Mm-hmm. So it's stupid rules. That's why they run their course so they can see if they've had any problems with it, so they can amend. That's why they have all these amendments in the building code. Mm-hmm. They decide it doesn't work.
Yeah.
It's a fluid thing, and so you should adopt the ones that the state has already weeded out the things that don't make any sense. Mm-hmm. Or somebody's brother-in-law didn't invent a window, right?
Yeah.
If you go to another, what would you say is the county in the state that's the most, I don't want to say lawless, but lawless?
With no regulation?
No regulation. The Wild West of Tennessee.
Grundy County, maybe.
You know, I built a doctor's office in Grundy County, Grootly Logger.
Do they have building inspection? No.
You went to the library. That was City Hall, the library together.
Yeah.
And you just went in and signed a piece of paper, and she handed me a building permit. And they didn't have any water tap fee or sewer tap or septic fees. And they didn't have any rules.
I know Bledsoe doesn't have.
That's I built in Pikeville too. They have some. Very minor, but they have some.
Yeah, I was the demise of planning there. I had a contract with them. I was their planner for a while, and I made the wrong county commissioner's son-in-law mad over something, and they got rid of the planning commission. So
the state says if you don't have one, then they'll provide you one?
No, when I worked for the local planning office, counties and cities would contract with us.
Why?
To provide their planning services.
Because they didn't have any?
Because they didn't want to have to hire a full-time planner.
What if they just didn't even want one?
They don't have to.
But they wanted one, but they didn't want to have to hire it. So they contracted with the state?
They did, yeah.
And this was Pikeville?
This was Bledsoe County.
Which is Pikeville, right? No, you're talking the county of Bledsoe, yeah. Mm-hmm. I liked it up there. It was really nice.
It's pretty. I like it. Small, but pretty.
But Grootly Logger, that was that got its name from being the town Grootly and the town Logger. Uh-huh. And they combined the two. Did you know that used to be the big stagecoach stop?
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was the main hub for stagecoach stops when they were mining.
Yeah.
And that's why they built that. That's where Tracy City came in. Mm-hmm. And they were German miners that lived there, and that's how they got that bakery, the Dutch Made Bakery.
Mm-hmm.
That's in Tracy City and in South Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
Or Jasper.
Yeah, I know what you're talking
Yeah. So what else is next for Bentley Thomas?
I don't know. We'll keep raising these kids and enjoying life.
That Ron Wilson's as nice a guy as you'll ever meet, isn't he?
He is. He's
And
been a godsend, really. He really has been a great.
His brother Dan's nice too. They're just nice people.
You know, it was so weird how all that transpired, and I hired him.
See, he was an inspector in Athens.
Yeah, he was. But I had one of the girls that was a stormwater girl working for me at the time, Anna. She told me she was moving to some island in the Caribbean to teach English. The former building inspector resigned, and
Which was who?
Don White.
Yeah, I knew Don.
And then that all transpired in 1 week, and I didn't know what to do because you can't find people that have these certifications without stealing them from somewhere else, because who else is going to have a International Building Code certification? But
Who ever would want it?
yeah. But I was over at the city that day and talking to Peggy Hathcock, Lindsay's wife.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, Peggy, I don't know what I'm going to do. I have to find somebody. And Dan just happened to hear me.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, let me talk to my brother. He might be interested. Mm-hmm. He used to work in Athens.
Athens, yeah.
I hooked up with him the next week and interviewed him, and I hired him the next week.
He's Johnny on the spot, man.
Yeah, he's good.
He really is. But I hated to see Don White go too. I liked him, but he left kind of abruptly, didn't he?
Yeah.
Took the program with him or something.
No, he gave me a resignation letter. Never really told me why he was leaving, but
He gave you a little notice, I guess.
Yeah.
But
it was kind of a shock.
It was
I
a
didn't
shock.
have any idea.
I really liked him, but you know, Ron, he's relaxed into the program very good now, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the chemistry in our office is really good. I mean, everybody working there.
See, when I worked at the assessor's office with Stanley, Theresa worked with us. Did you know that?
Yeah, she used to work up there, didn't she? I didn't know you were there when she was there.
I was there when she was there. It's not Teresa, it's Theresa.
Yeah. Yeah.
But she goes by the book too, man.
Yeah, she's quirky, but she's great, and it's not fun when she takes a week off, not having her there.
If she doesn't veer from the policy, and that's better, isn't it?
Yeah, it's in her position, definitely. But
it really is.
She yeah, we have builders that won't talk to anybody but her. Mm-hmm. I don't know. She keeps saying she's going to retire one of these days. Then
she's not old enough to retire.
Keep telling her, yeah, about 20 more years you got in you.
She's not old enough to retire.
But no, I mean, yeah, she's going to be. She's really good at her job, and like I said, when she's not there, it's not a fun week.
Do you have when you get these packets together for the County Planning Commission? Mm-hmm. Do you ever have people come in and say, I want to take this to planning, and you have to fill out all this paperwork, and you wish they'd just fill it out?
Sometimes. I mean, yeah.
But so you have to go upstairs and get the tax map, and run a copy, and get the map group and parcel?
It's really not that hard. I mean, I've been doing it for so long, but yeah, I ask them to give me what they want for the agenda 15 days before, so that I can, like on the rezonings, I have to send out public notice to all the contiguous property owners and the property owners across the street and get it in the paper.
Is that a law?
I don't think it's a law that you have to do that, but here, when they adopted the zoning, they put that in the zoning that you have to do that. It's a law that you have to publish it in the paper with an illustration before the county commission votes on it, though.
Now, you said with places like Bledsoe County, they have no subdivision regulation?
Not anymore. Not after I was up there. They had them for a couple of years and
didn't go over well.
They had one developer came out of Florida, and he hooked up with a former state rep, and they did this huge subdivision out on the mountain towards like Fall Creek Falls.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it was like what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
They went in, didn't build the road, platted it all, bonded the road at like $3 or $4 million. And, you know, after 1 year, if the road's not built, the planning commission can give you an extension for another year. They gave him the extension. Then after 2 years, you're supposed to call it in. The county's supposed to call in bonds and build the road. Well, the planning commission asked me what they needed to do. I was like, call the bonds in. And
Yeah.
that's one of the only times I thought I was going to get punched by a developer. But, oh, he was furious. But they wouldn't do it. And right around that time's when they got rid of the planning commission too. And those roads never got built. They're still sitting there. And those people have lots and houses on a dirt road, you know.
And it was bonded. Why didn't the bonding company come in and put the roads in? Because isn't that the reason you get the bond?
Yeah, but the planning commission has to call it, and they wouldn't call it. So the bond was worthless.
If they don't call it.
Mm-hmm.
300,000 might not have been enough to do it anyway. But
No,
isn't that...
it was like $4 or $5 million bond.
Looks like, I bet that guy never got another bond from that company. Of course, they didn't call it.
Well, they didn't call
Why
it.
wouldn't they call it?
Because of who he was, I guess. But no, those roads still aren't built. I'd be furious if I was one of the property owners.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure the developers are long gone. They made their money.
That's what you're protecting for Bradley County.
Yeah, I mean, you're protecting the consumer from, you know, getting screwed like those guys did.
That's your mission, isn't it?
I wouldn't say it's my mission. That's one of the things my job entails, though.
Did you ever have any bad experiences like that when you were
Bad experiences like,
not having, you know, like the city or the county taken up for, like you said, your parents inherited that land, and
oh yeah,
was that sort of similar, right? I guess.
not really. I mean, those are two different situations. But no, I haven't had any bad experiences like that. I wouldn't say.
So what makes you want to be a servant?
A public servant?
Yeah.
I don't know. I've just always been interested in government. And, I mean, I know I'll never be a millionaire working for Bradley County, but I enjoy what I do, and I get to go home and see my kids at 4:30 in the afternoon. Not most days. That's what I like about it.
But you could do that with any business.
I
Maybe.
guess. Do you?
No. But I probably wouldn't do that anyway.
Yeah.
That's not my nature to just go home. I can't.
That's why you left the county.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, well, I tell you what. I'm glad people like you are out there.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, man.